Hello. In this video, we are going to talk about how you should start your CET preparation. Now, this is something that we get asked a lot as to how should I begin my preparation, because a lot of you may not have good direction or good guidance in terms of how you are supposed to plan the next 2 months. And if you haven't started your preparation already, how you should go about it. So in this video, we are going to address that. Now, let's start with the first step, which is where you are at this point of time. Now, unless and until you know that, you'll not be able to figure out where you want to go and how to bridge the gap between your current score and your desired score. So, the first thing that you can do is you need to figure out where you are. For that, take a full length mock. Now, we are offering, as part of our test series, we are also offering a full length free mock which you can take from our website. Now, once you take a mock, there are a few things that you will realize. One, it is very difficult to sit at one place and solve so many questions, and it will tell you how many questions you are getting correct. And of course, you are supposed to solve questions genuinely and not really mark questions randomly, though there's no negative marking. So once you take a full length mock like that, you will realize what your base level is. So let's say you get about 80 as your score or 100 as your score. Now you already know that the cutoffs have been north of 120, 130, or even 140 if you're really looking at getting into some of the good institutes out there. So you know what is the gap that you need to cover. The second thing that will matter is whether this is your first attempt or you are prepared for some other test or you have taken CET before and this is your second or third attempt, right? So this thing matters because your preparation is going to be different. For somebody who has just started his preparation, who has never taken CET before, this person may not have enough information regarding all the concepts and tricks and tips that others may have access to. Whereas somebody who has already prepared for other tests, maybe CAT, ZAT, IFT, SNAP, NMAT, all these tests, they are already at a certain level. So their concepts are already in place. They have solved a lot of questions already. So their preparation is going to differ. So this is your realization point that, okay, maybe this is my first attempt or my second attempt, but this is where I am at this point of time. The next thing is to figure out where you want to go. And of course, here you'll have to set some realistic targets because everybody will say that I want to get into JBIMS, but that is not going to be possible for everybody. So you have to have your target institutes in place and also look at what percentile cutoffs or what cutoffs in terms of marks have been there for the last few years for these institutes. So once you figure out that, you know that okay, there's this much gap between my current score and my desired score, and your entire preparation plan has to be around bridging that gap. Okay. Now the next factor that matters is how many days you have. So if you have already started your preparation, you have covered maybe say 50% of the syllabus that is out there. So you have to decide how much preparation time you have. If you're working, then you'll have to take out a few hours on a daily basis. If you're somebody who is just preparing for the test completely, then again, you don't really study for 10 to 12 hours on a daily basis. So how you can optimize the time that you have, this is something that you'll have to figure out. So how many days do I have? And you have to account for the preparation time, which is core of building concepts and revision. And the second part is going to be the mocks, analysis of those mocks, and figuring out what the strategy should be to get to the next level. The other factor that matters is what you should focus on, because a lot of people start running behind a few things that they think are very important, but they may not be important from the exam scoring point of view. So whether you should focus on quant, the abstract reasoning, logical reasoning, verbal, these things you have to decide. So once you take a mock, what you can do is you can go to the section level, and at a section level you figure out that okay, in quant maybe you attempted 40 questions in the first mock, and out of 40 you got only 15 correct. So does it really make sense to attempt 40 questions, or you are better off attempting only 20 questions? Now you might be somebody who is extremely good at say verbal, your English is really good, but you are struggling a little bit with LR and abstract reasoning. So it's a good idea to spend more time there than spending a lot of time on verbal, which you already know. So rather than strengthening what you already have, you may want to spend a little more time on really taking care of some of the areas of improvements that you have. So if it is LR, you may want to solve more puzzles, more logical questions to really master it. If it is say abstract reasoning, you will of course have to solve lot of visual reasoning questions so that you are at a comfortable position. So these are the things that you will start realizing once you take the first full length mock. Okay, and if you haven't taken it already, this is what you should do right away. So if you're watching this video now, maybe tonight or tomorrow, just make sure that you take a mock. Okay. Now, the other things that people really think about is whether they should join a classroom or an online course. And the answer for that is pretty simple. It depends on your current state. If you're somebody who has not taken CET before and you are absolutely clueless about how you want to approach it, it makes sense to get formally trained by a really good mentor. So it makes sense to join a classroom or an online course at that point of time. And even if you've taken the test before, there are some critical gaps. So the other day I watched this nice video on YouTube. You can check it out by Dr. Atul Gawande, where he says that everybody needs a coach, right? Even the best of the people there and the geniuses out there still need coaches because they can help them guide and figure out the gaps in their behavior as well as their performance. So, for example, there are a lot of people who come to us and they have taken these exams before, but they still want to take either the classroom program or the online course because the expert guidance is something that makes a lot of difference. So, you have to decide that whether I need a classroom or an online course, and once you do that, you also have to figure out whether I'm disciplined enough or not, because online course is something which really works for people who are short on time, who are working, but are fairly disciplined. Whereas there are people, in case you are somebody who is not very disciplined, you might want to go with a classroom course because that is something that will give you a direction, a nice guidance, and a way to your preparation. The next bit is, what material should I use? So people have this question all the time, that there are so many things available in the market, there's so many free resources as well. You can download some material from some website. People go haphazard in their preparation. So instead of that, what you can do is you just focus on a few good books. So if you're getting books from the market, you can maybe look at there are a lot of people who go for RS Agarwal, so you can look at something like that. If you already have access to coaching institute material, it will be fairly organized. So you already have a nice set of questions there that are of CET level. So make sure that you don't go all over the place while collecting this material. 2 to 3 books across sections. So quant, verbal, logical reasoning, and abstract reasoning with lot of questions is what you should be using. Plus, of course, you will be taking mocks, and mocks will be the best resource that you can have in terms of different kind of questions and quality of questions. So books plus mocks is what you should be using. Now, how many mocks should I plan for is something that a lot of people want to know. Again, completely depends on you, because there's no fixed recipe as such. We have seen people who took 1 or 2 mocks, went for the test and got really good results, but for that you have to be at a very high level. And we have seen people who have taken 40, 50 mocks in the past, and that really helped them to get to the next level. Personally, I had taken around 35 to 40 mocks, and that helped me get 99.99. Now, so there's no definite number here that you have to take so many mocks, but again, the number should give you enough questions. So, for example, if I'm taking 20 mocks, I'm looking at around 4,000 questions. Now, I already have some material from where I'm solving about 3,000, 4,000 questions. So, if I combine these two, I'm looking at around 8,000 questions. So, I'm at a fairly good number. We think that around 7,000 to 10,000 questions is a good enough number for one to be extremely well prepared for the test. Okay. Now, coming to how much time should I put on a daily or weekly basis? So, it's all about planning. You have to figure out how much you need to put in terms of hours of effort. But it is not the hours that matters. It is the quality of your preparation that matters more. So, you have to figure out that, okay, if I'm studying for, let's say, 1.5 hours, how can I get the most out of it? Now, if you're working, of course, it becomes very difficult for you to take out time. But if you're working from, let's say, 9 to 7, you can always come home and then spend around 2 hours in the night and maybe around an hour or so in the morning. And then make it total time of about 3 hours, in which you can roughly solve easily around 90 to 100 questions as a practice. So this is something that you can do. Make sure that you have a really good plan. I'm also putting a 60-day preparation plan on the Learning Roots website. So I had done this for the 2016 as well as 17 CET. So this time I'm planning to do it, and you can download the plan from the website. Now, I want to give you a roadmap that you can have for the month of Jan and Feb. So in Jan, we are going to focus on concepts. So if you haven't prepared already and you're starting now, you will be focusing a lot on building your basic blocks. You need to have your numbers and arithmetic concepts in place so that you're able to solve a lot of questions in quant. You need to know how to approach, say, a logical reasoning puzzle or a set, and then you can work around that. For DI, your reciprocals, fraction equivalence, those things need to be in place. Otherwise, it becomes a little time consuming for you in the actual paper. So you will be focusing on concepts and problem solving. Now, when you're doing problem solving, again, try to bring the proportion of the actual paper to your preparation. So you have 20-30 quant questions roughly that you can target on a daily basis, around 20 to 30 verbal questions, around 30-40 LR questions, and 10 to 15 AR questions. So if you just divide the number of questions in the paper by 2, you get the number that you should be targeting on a daily basis. But again, it's not something that is sacrosanct. You don't have to have X number of questions on a daily basis. But whatever you decide for yourself, make sure that you stick to it, and don't really go away from your preparation plan. If you have decided that, okay, this is what I'm going to do this week, make sure that you do it. Okay, don't really skip your preparation days. The other thing that you have to do is to take mocks and analyze them. A lot of people think that they will complete the entire syllabus and then start taking mocks, but that doesn't really help. So you can't really be just reading about how I'm supposed to run and then participate in a race. So you have to have small sprints that you take on a regular basis so that you can actually run the race eventually. So you have to take mocks. Maybe your frequency can be low. Maybe you can take one mock per week right now in the month of Jan, or even two mocks per week. So that roughly translates to about 4 to 8 mocks that you can take in the month of January. Now coming to Feb, you will have to of course take more number of mocks. So when we go to Feb from here, your focus has to be on mocks and analysis. So there you won't be really studying a lot of new concepts, and it doesn't make sense to do that because here in February you have to concentrate and polish what you already know. So the maximum time is what you're going to spend on mocks and analysis. So again, from around 2 mocks per week, you can maybe go to 3 mocks per week if that is something that you can digest. The other thing that will come into picture once you have all your concepts and fundamentals in place is the strategy aspect of it, as to how do you go for the paper, what is your mental state, how you sit at that place, and then how do you strategize. If one section is difficult, what do you do? If one section is very easy, what do you do? So all these things, how you're supposed to attempt, how many questions in the first 1 hour or maybe the next half an hour, and so on. So all this will start coming to you once you've taken enough number of mocks. You have to take about 5 to 10 mocks in the beginning, so that in the month of January, so that you know that, okay, these are my areas of improvements. This is where I can really do well. So when you go for the actual paper, or even when you're taking mocks in the month of February, you already know how you're supposed to address those issues. And since we are studying concepts in Jan and focusing on problem solving, February is going to be largely revision of those things that you've already done. So you won't be studying a lot of new things in February, but you'll be focusing on mocks and the strategy part of it. Okay, so this is a rough idea, or rough roadmap as to what you can do to start your CET preparation, and then what you should do in the next 2 months or so. Now, we also have some CET courses, so just wanted to leave those links here. So we have a classroom course, an online course. We also have test series with 12 full-length mocks. And as I said in the beginning of the session, the first mock is free, which you can take to know your current state. And we also have a lot of free resources. So if you go to our website under the category CET, MAT, CMAT, you have analysis of all past CET papers. You have the cutoffs of various institutes. You also have the preparation plan that I spoke about. And we have the CET preparation group on Facebook. So in case you haven't joined it, you can look at joining it, because we're going to be solving a lot of questions here. So I hope this video was helpful to you. If you have any specific questions, feel free to leave them in comments and we'll definitely get back to you. And feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to help you. I hope this video was useful. So I wish you guys all the best with your CET preparation.